General, thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You know, listening to your testimony, you know, you inspire hope. When I think about justice for Jocelyn Smith, Babita Yakoran, Mpho Mulifi, Nathaniel Julius, Pamela Mabini, Bauer van Niekerk, my fellow committee member, Honorable Sitole from the IFP, and my cousin, Etienne Langefeld. We are still waiting for justice. And so when I hear you, I see you, it inspires hope. But when I sit in this seat, of course, I cannot choose a side. I must be fair. I must question you on things that I need clarity on. But I'm confident, you know, that you will handle it like a master. So let's walk together through my clarity-seeking exercise. Let's start with section 9 of volume 1 that deals with who you are. I'm very interested to know, General, are you related to the anti-apartheid hero, Mkwanazi riot, Mkwanazi?
No, I'm not related.
I was going to say, so that means the fighting for justice is in your blood.
He is Mkwanazi. It might be the blood indeed, but I don't know him.
Yesterday in your testimony, you said the following, open quote, sometimes we do not divulge more on what we are doing as a strategy, close quote. What about that strategy can you share with us here today?
We apply different strategies very different with different cases, honorable member. If we are asking me about what we are busy with in how we are dealing with the challenges that brings us here together in as far as the involvement of the Minister, General Sbia, the Matlalas, the Brand Mokozis, and everything that we're talking about, it's in different folds. On one side, we have the investigation, we have intelligence, and we have a prosecution part of the strategy. Then we have a communication plan that we are putting, that we have, that is unfolding. We are at war with the enemy. At times, Sun Tzu will say to you, do not make the enemy to know what you're busy with. If you are far, make him think you're close. If we are close, we are close, then you must then attack if need be. If we are weak, make him believe that you're strong, and you know, so forth. We cannot tell you exactly what is it in details that we're doing, but what we started doing has helped us to place cases in court. The cases, ordinarily, they were not going to get there. So we started seeing results in as far as that is concerned. What we did has allowed us to get our case dockets back in KZN, and we were able to service the client in the province. And we have cases now we've registered in KZN to try and deal with the bad things happening. So that's why I'm saying that the strategy will talk about the softer approach on how we're winning this battle, and at the same time we have the hardcore approach that we're dealing with. We have members running that are currently on training to make sure that they can face whatever may come, that we are training. By the use of task force, the TRT, the NIU, and many others, to equip them to be ready for the war that might come. As and when it comes, we are ready as the police to deal with it. We have employed a different strategy to make sure that investigations are not disturbed by mixing the team that is investigating with highly trained members, honorable members. For instance, the special task force in the police, the special forces in the military were never part of our operations, but they are part of this one. It is a level of risk that we have. So once we invite the special task force to an operation of this nature, we better explain to them the threat and let them understand it. And once they understand it, then they help us develop a plan of how we're going to counter them. So as we are executing our strategy, we start seeing results in some instances of the strategy that we're busy with. We cannot necessarily present it for one to know exactly because the enemy is within. We said on the 5th of March in Parliament that the people we're investigating are in that portfolio committee on the 5th of March. I said it on record. You can listen to it. That's why we can't talk much about it, because we know that they are within. And they will take whatever plans you have and they're going to go and counter that. But the honest reality that we know is that we are dealing with dangerous people. We are dealing with people that have got influence in the public. They've got influence in the media space. They can do different things to make you be discouraged. We needed to mitigate against this malicious arrest happening. We needed to mitigate against further arrest, which was a strategy they were employing to neutralize everything, is that send them to court. Then we said, okay, well, let's go directly to this one. As we speak, honorable members, and we can tell you that, I can tell you that the National Commissioner was in the doorstep of prison himself. Not because he did anything wrong, but because it was part of the plan. That the person who wanted to be the head of DPCI, because of his age, he could not be. The minister was frustrated when he came to the panel about that one. The DG will come here and tell you that. And subsequent to that, the next plan B was to arrest this one so this one can be appointed acting. That was the plan. So I couldn't sit back and allow that to happen. And seeing what is actually happening, that we're going to have a government that has been put into position by criminals through criminal means. And although the start will have been controlling their own political party, but the talks amongst them was that the words of a senior police officer says, DPCI is gold. If you get to DPCI, you've got gold. Here we are, some of us saying we're not interested to apply for that post because it's not giving me any financial benefit because I'm already in the same level as DPCI. But the other one says, no, you see something that I don't see. I see gold for being a DPCI head. Simple because we have, as we investigate what we called inquiries, if we suspect that the honorable member might be involved with something, we register an inquiry. There's no case open. We register an inquiry in order to try and establish what is it that we could be part of. And that inquiry allows us to make 205 applications and get records of this, record of that, record until we get the facts, then we register a case. We arrest you. It's provided for. So once you are then given the responsibility of the highest level of an investigation team in the country, where you can decide who to initiate this inquiry against, the likelihood is that when you keep scraping, you're going to find something. No matter how minute that what you get, but you're going to find something. So find them something and then you use it. But not use it to prosecute a person. Use it to blackmail the person. Now that we found something on you, we come in, we present to you and say, here's it. You either do this, if failing which, you go to prison. And that's how they take control of the leadership going forward. So that will have been done in a political party, and they were going to levy that into the competitors at the political space when we go towards elections, and eventually will match victorious at the end of the day when everyone else votes for them. You'll find people saying that I'm supporting a political party X, not by choice, because that they've got something on him that makes that person to change tune and say, no, I'm supporting this one. We've seen it.
General, we're going to stick to the strategy.
Yes,
and
sir.
we're going to also tap into questions I have around symbolic elements around that strategy. Help me understand.
Yeah.
You also say in your testimony yesterday, speaking on why you were dressed in camouflage, you said, open quote, it is directed specifically to those that are standing in the way of us enforcing the law, which unfortunately they are in a position of authority to stop us, close quote. Take your time, General, and tell us who are they and what are their positions of authority?
I will reflect on those that we suspect in terms of criminal investigation that we're busy with. The Minister of Police, Minister Mkwanazi, is a position of authority. That's why I write letters of this nature. General Sibia, who's head of the investigations in the police, who has an authority over investigation. As I made an example, that there's a number of dockets involving some of these high-profile criminals in Gauteng that are sitting in his office at the head office. And yet those dockets belong to the provincial commission. But he called for them to go to Pretoria as part of how they work, how they operate. Well, he can argue that they are not in his office, but General Shibiri in his office and other brigadiers that are work there, if they are honest, they'll tell the truth that yes, in these things are here based on this instruction. There are other individuals that are within the justice system holding a position of authority. Some of them we've mentioned, some of them we have not named them. When we made mention of the ulterior motives of IDEC as an institution, which has caused about the arrest of members, based on the promotion of a person, it's got no justification, or there's no justification that IDEC can present and say, this is a very sophisticated high crime form of corruption that was envisaged by the legislature when they established this entity. She cannot argue that if she comes in. If she cannot argue that, it leaves nothing else but to conclude that she's using a position of authority to make sure there's a prosecution happening. It's been argued that the referral of complaints of Mr. Adams to IDEC had nothing to do with the content of the case dockets that were registered in Cape Town and in Orlando, but it had all got to do with an interference by police management of the Western Cape, by police management of Gauteng, by the National Commission itself in frustrating the investigation. And that interference happened, according to Mr. Adams, within 3 days. And the minister believed that. Hence, they invited IDEC to come and be part of it. And IDEC never said no to it. They took the dockets. Today, they're still sitting with the docket. They never assessed this docket that this doesn't come closer to our mandate and send it back to where it's supposed to go, or pass it over to IP. They didn't do that. They still have the dockets with them. So here they are as IDEC and the head of IDEC that are players in this mess. But then when IDEC craft warrant of arrest of the team as part of the plan, they make use of magistrate to sign off this warrant. I'm not a lawyer, but the logic as a lawmaker, if you take the statement that is in that charge sheet of that case docket, this matter is going to court next week, I'm told, on Monday or Tuesday again. You take that, you read it, and you ask yourself whether did this justify the signing of a warrant of arrest for these members by the magistrate. This is before the court, another magistrate. We just didn't mention him, but he's a player in this thick of things. When you look at what Mkhwebi did back in 2011, 2012, when he stopped the prosecution of Ndluli, and how the prosecutors that were carrying a docket just let it go, then you start realizing that which happened there, and compare it with what is happening now, where the office of the National Director of Prosecution still has players or officials that were part of the Mkhwebi's time, still working in these offices, still being part of this administration process going forward. It's a position of authority that makes you realize that we have a problem that we have to deal with. So investigate, finalize your investigation, but you won't get any warrant of arrest. So therefore, that case will never see the court. From the police, you are disarmed. Your work ends there. You can't go beyond. So what you do then to make sure that you end up in court and you end up in correctional service? You now have to remove these obstacles in the middle. That is what we are confronted. So when we make this statement and we're making this reference, these are just but some of the individuals that we can point out that I'm sitting here before you in Parliament, and all these people are government employees that I'm talking about. And we have evidence to prove. Some of it I've demonstrated before you, that there is no logic for IDEC to go to that extent of arresting people for a mere promotion. And for IDEC to employ a person who does not have a single qualification as an investigator to deal with cases that it was envisaged by the legislature when they established the entity of serious corruption. This is not a serious corruption. How did we get there? They are arresting people for the appointment of a person that says she did not qualify. But the very same investigating team have been parachuted by IDEC from a lower level where they're coming from to the very senior level, jumping 4 or 5 levels to the position that they are holding currently by the same IDEC team. And yet they're investigating someone else on the side. So ethically, the evidence is there for everyone to see. We've been looking at it as a police, and we've realized what do we do to counter this? And the nice thing, the police have got a lot of farms. So we had to retrieve and go to the farm and sit down and calculate and plan and strategize and come back and implement. And that's what we're busy with. While I'm here, and there's men and women in blue around the country, they're busy executing the plan as we speak.
Now let's jump into the symbolism of your strategy.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not claiming it is your strategy. I'm asking whether it is. The subliminal messaging. The July unrest happened in KZN on the 9th of July. Is your choice to do the press briefing in July the 6th in KZN part of the strategy?
No, negative is not.
Coincidental.
Coincidental, the briefing on the 6th is informed by the relief we get as a team from the National Commissioner when he deposed of an affidavit or a statement under oath that says I did not authorize this criminal act of removing dockets and stopping the investigation and so forth. He gave me that on the 4th of July in Pretoria. So now I must travel back to KZN where I must register this case. The 5th of July is a Friday. No, I beg your pardon, the 4th of July is a Friday, if I'm not mistaken. I traveled back to KZN. The Saturday is the 5th of July. Now, majority of the honorable members love to come to Durban in July. The government of KZN wouldn't want any disturbance of their tourists when they are in the province in July. So I had to respect that on the 5th of July, when I wanted to address South Africans, I must not do that in order not to disrupt here on one side, but on the other side, more importantly, I want the sober citizen to listen to me. So when I talk to them on the Saturday, they are drunk, most of them, because of what's happening in Durban. So let me not get there on Saturday. And so I call for this gathering to happen on Saturday, and knowing for a fact that they will have woken up just when they are getting their papalas sorted out, I will clear their papalas with this message. And indeed, it reached out, it made them sober.
It definitely did. That was a master stroke.
Thank you, sir.
Now, in the apartheid struggle, what did the letters MK stand for? When it relates to the military wing of the revolution against apartheid?
I think it's similar to the one of the political parties that are here in the House of Parliament. It represents the same thing.
What is that?
The military wing of a political party.
What does MK refer to?
Mkhonto wesizwe.
We are still dealing with subliminal messaging. You must help me. Is it true that you used your initials in your witness statement to us for easy reference? NSM, Nhlanhla Sibusiso Mkwanazi. Is it true?
That is correct, although I did not choose those initials. It's the evidence leaders that decided on those initials. It was not much similar with Madlanga. I did not choose the initials used.
Very interesting, because I wanted to understand. You must now tell me who. For easy reference, in the Madlanga Commission, instead of your initials NSM, it is MK. So I wanted to understand, was it you? You now say it was someone else. Do you know why?
Well, I did not ask them. The evidence leader there is the senior counsel, Molapi, that can be able to assist in explaining how they came about that. Same as this one. Senior counsel is right here in front of us. They can be able to explain how it came about. The coincident, honorable chair members, maybe that I can tell you. Yes, I was born in, some of you know Maritzburg, the township. There's a rural area next to Maritzburg called Kwampumuza. That's where I was born. And I grew up in Ashdown Township, as well as in Pendle, rural area. Ashdown Township, when the fight between IFP and ANC was strong, UDF, it happened in the township. During the day, you pass each other greeting. When the sun goes down, you become enemies. You can't be on the street, you get killed. So the violence was that rough at the time. So when my parents felt that the violence is this rough, they'll ship me to the rural areas in Pendle so that I'm protected from this. And when it's a bit quiet, they'll bring me back. So I ended up changing a lot of schools as I grew up because of that, moving up and down. So I was not necessarily drawn into the politics of things, although there were friends that I lost that I knew at the time, but I was always protected and removed from that. So I never got to be exposed much into what was happening in terms of the violence. Yes, I knew about the MK. We study history at school and we learn about things and we see things. And then I happened to join the service, joining the dawn of democracy. When I joined, I went to the college on the 22nd of June, 1993. When I finished training, I was deployed in Potchefstroom. I started in December. We arrived there in December, middle of the night in Potchefstroom, and I started working there. The Potchefstroom was dominated by, in the main, IFP, which honorable member spoke about earlier in relation to the homelands that were there in the past. So was Zulu police had armed IFP members with a lot of guns, be it Nduna is given a gun, be it a protector of the Nduna, he has a gun, and many others. Honorable Ngango might maybe share more details about some of it. But there were too many firearms that the IFP, that the IFP members were in position of. So here I am arriving here and I'm given a task to ensure that there is public order, there is safety. So we arrived and I work for the unit internal stability. And when I get into this unit, I'm confronted, as I experienced when I arrived in Pretoria, in the same room we sleep with the Tsonga speakers, the Pedi speakers. I had no clue about how even to greet in those languages. So I had to adjust it. You get people that end up giving nicknames because it's difficult for them to pronounce your name. Same thing happened in Potchefstroom when I arrived there. One of my commanders, a white guy, could not pronounce Mkwanazi. Even today, majority of the members in this house, if I ask them to pronounce Mkwanazi, they will put an A after M. They will say Mkwanazi, and there's no A, it's Mkwanazi, MKH. So because of that struggle of pronunciation, he chose the shortcut. He just called me MK. And I'm brand new at the unit. It is December 1993. This unit were camouflage. And in few months down the line, in April, the African National Congress win elections. And here comes this young man dressed in camouflage and is confronted with the situation on the ground, where the IFP, majority of them are in the half of the village of the ANC people. This group of about 20 boys of ANC, unarmed, that are confronted by this group of IFP with guns. And one had to act. Unfortunately, my action angered my commanders because my action was against the IFP leadership that were already in the territory of the ANC people without taking political sides. So they got to know me. They got to know that person caused this problem and it caused one of the IFP person to be injured at the time through my action. And then fast forward a few months later, I happened to be in another gathering where a similar fight is happening, area of Tsilima, Mvuchini, in those areas. And when we are there, and I'm sitting in this police car in Nyala, I'm not getting out because the place is crowded. I decided to sit inside. I opened the hatch on top and I was standing there. The doors are closed. One of the members asked me to open the door because he wanted to get inside the car. He made a mistake. He's a white guy again. He calls me with a nickname in the center of the IFP, armed people. So he called me by nickname, a nickname that when it's pronounced in such a setting, the people on the ground don't believe that it is initials of your surname. They believe that you are a member of a political party. He said, MK, please open the door for me. Everyone else turned around to look at this MK, and they saw me. And others identified me as a person who has caused trouble a couple of months back. They all came in numbers to that car. I will not explain how I responded to it, but I responded to stay alive. But from that day, I was banned from working in the IFP area in Potchefstroom by my command. Now, because of the first initials of my surname MK, so they associate me with them controversies. It branded me bad.
Now, that could have been a repeat in terms of perception by looking at the files. And I, for one, am very happy that there's no connection. And it is clear that it's not even part of the strategy, the use of the name MK or the letters MK. Mr. Musa Wenkosi, I think it's Kashana, the Kwashana,
Yeah.
Kashana, who was the reason that the whole process started of the IMC and also the political killings task team. Is his case solved?
His case is in court. That what I could say, there's been successful investigation on the matter. As being under correction, I'm not sure if it's been finalized, but I will just get a confirmation on that. But they were arrested and the matter did go to court.
General, I refer you to page 83, paragraph 275 that you pointed us to the last time. I think it is in NSM 3. You have a diagram there. That diagram has two names out of what is known as the Big Five now. It has the name of the Chief of Staff, it has the name of the Minister, it has the name of Mr. Brown Mokhotsi, it has the name of Lieutenant General Sibia, and then it has the name of General Kele, whom the diagram is linking to all of these things that are happening with cartels, etc. Then you have the arrow connecting, and you're saying responsible for the appointment of General Sibia, and you connect General Kwele in the diagram to National Commissioner. But the name of the connected National Commissioner is not mentioned. What is the reason for that? Is their name, or what is the purpose for the entire diagram? Has names, of course, we know why the Big Five's names are not there, but the National Commissioner, why is then? What's the reason for there not being a name?
Well, I think there's no deliberate thing. It might have been just a title that we put. The names that we put in specifically are names of the people that we suspect of the wrongdoing in terms of the crime. You will notice between Lieutenant General Sibia and the reds on the left, we have SAPS runners, DPCI, detectives, Vispol, crime intelligence, forensic service. We do not put names, but we put these categories of disciplines within the organization because we have the names of police officers that are working in this environment, that are facilitating things between General Sibia and these criminal people. So we did not necessarily put their names on it, but because there are many, we for that reason. But for the National Commissioner, the divisional, the crime detection, forensic, the crime intelligence, we didn't necessarily put the names. There are names of a head of crime detection, but she's not been accused of anything wrong. That's why I didn't put her name. We have the name of the divisional commissioner, crime intelligence. He hasn't done anything wrong. That's why we did not put the name. So even the linkage between General Cele and the national commissioner, what we are putting there in that arrow is an explanation. If you notice, there's a dotted line that says SSA.
Yeah.
Because we are told that SSA provided or enabled General Sibia to be cleared by providing reports that clears the question marks that were asked by the city of Johannesburg. And as a result, then General Sibia was cleared. That's why we have the dotted lines with the SSA to confirm whether has that been signed off by the DG at SSA, or is someone within SSA who had no authority to sign that letter to clear General Sibia and respond to both the city of Johannesburg as well as the National Commission. But when we are having the names on top is because they are wrong that we see. Gerald Cele, for instance, when you see the link between Gerald Cele and Vusmutket Matlala, it's because there's some racketeering that is happening. Gerald Cele sends Vusmatlala an account number, account details. Vusmatlala deposit money into a private account, not Cele's account, someone else's account. He puts money to that account and he sends a proof to Cele. Cele acknowledge the receipt of that. And then there's other further communication. That's why I'm saying the communication between them is not about the arrest date. It's a communication we see dating back to 2024. There's criminality there that we need to investigate. Who was this money for? Now we're going to that bank account to see whether this money moved by Vus into that account. Did it end with that account, or did it move from that account back to Cele somehow? That's why there's a target there. So it's not a target of appointment per se, but it's the name because of that line. We even wrote a communication dating back to December 2024. Yeah. So it is not the number of calls that was spoken about in the media. It's what we picked up is investigating. You'll notice we also on the right side of the very same graph, we have these agents of misinformation that we did not put their names. Mm-hmm. We have the IPID, IDEC, and IGI. We did not put their names, although we know them because more than one player within those entities. But we know that these entities are the enabler of the wrong, not the entity as a whole, but some individuals within. That's why we flag them like that, because it's a place of interest. It's a web that we put up together, the chart that we made out to say, who are we focusing on when we're dealing with this chaos? And these are the main people we are focusing on. And you'll ask yourself, we talk here about some MPs that are part of this chaos. And we find those MPs being part of the black and white bottom right corner. That's where they play most of them.
General, you testified that the dockets that was moved was a missed target. The target was actually General Khumalo because of what you called, I think, the Gauteng project.
Counterintelligence ops.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Please explain, what is their plan with General Khumalo?
The plan is to get him out of the service. If the National Commissioner were to transfer General Khumalo out of crime intelligence today and send him to a province somewhere where he's not going to disturb crime intelligence and this investigation, I believe they'll leave him alone.
So the attempt is to get him removed.
The plan is always about getting him out. Put whatever pressure you can through parliamentarians, through the media, and make this man a bad man so that you get him out of the office.
So it wasn't about the dockets. They only realized later, after having the dockets, that it wasn't what they were looking for in the dockets, and then the target shifted.
I said earlier when I started, the target on Khumalo has always been about the reforms at crime intelligence. That was the counter. The whole thing in the media space and the likes about Khumalo and them has always been about crime intelligence. And then there was an arrest or an investigation and arrest of Mr. Mlife that involves the members of the PKTT. And Khumalo is a man in charge of that investigation of the PKTT. So when they saw those within the investigation that this PKTT is causing trouble, the letter of the 31st of December was born. And after realizing after a while that actually PKTT has got no business with this thing, there is another investigation happening within crime intelligence. It was then that they started directing focusing on those members within crime intelligence. And then there was a convergence between the crime intelligence squad that wants to get rid of him as well as the criminal underworld using our investigation team that wants to get rid of them, they find a point of convergence to the office of the executive authority of this organization, which is the ministry, through a, I don't know if I should call him a comrade now, he's been disowned. Mr. Brown, a comrade, I'll use the word comrade of Minister Mkwanazi because that's what he said. I don't know a comrade in something else, not in a political party. They find a convergence, these two. So they had a common enemy. Because this vehicle here is well all machined, the one at crime intelligence. It's got contacts in the media space, it's got contacts, they've got the budget. It became easy for them to spread the fire. And that allows these ones to also benefit from it. So then there was a common interest on both of them. But what is funny is that the leader within crime intelligence and the leader within detectives don't get along. This is a very interesting part. They don't get along. But because they've got a common enemy, they forget about the differences until they deal with this common enemy. So that's a long and short of it. That Khumalo then become a victim as a result to get out of crime intelligence so that he stops these reforms that he's introducing here. And then he stop getting rid of people in crime intelligence because they cannot do without. Their powers are within crime intelligence. If they're out of crime intelligence, they will lose the power. And this side, there's investigation that must be frustrated. If this investigation and those two police officers succumb to the pressure and they stop that investigation and nothing happened, Khumalo was not going to get involved. And if crime intelligence, Khumalo did not touch the people and said, listen, drive the car the way you want to, come to work and do whatever, distribute T-shirts of political parties that were always in police vehicles in however way you want to, visit the building of a political party and walk all the floors of the building however you want to, I'm not going to bother you. Then Khumalo was going to be left alone. His problem was, you don't belong here, I'm sending you somewhere else. That's somewhere else because they need to establish with these ones investigating who's investigating. Then these ones within crime intelligence are the ones that share the information that the people that are investigating you, they are working from that house. And hence, these houses now are in the media. They are exposed by the ones within crime intelligence that wants to fight for the removal of these people.
Based on your evidence that you are putting before us, are you saying to us with this evidence that Minister Mkwanazi is corrupt?
I wouldn't say corrupt per se, although, Honorable Chair and members, because of what has happened, we are now looking at the trust account that the minister owed. That's how deep we go in to find out what is having a trust account, what monies are in there, how did they come in, how they've been dispersed, because there's a trust account that is on his name and the family that they're operating from. We were not going to get there if he didn't start here. He invited us to use our skills as police officers to keep scrapping. And we're going to scrap until we find gold. We won't stop. So that's what we're busy with now. So until we discover these transactions that are happening in that trust account, then we can come back and pronounce on corruption or not. But until then, we cannot talk about corruption because we don't have anything before us that proves any money movements between him and whoever. Yes, we might say, Gerald, that it is a money movement that we came to attention already. But for Minister Mkwanazi, we can't say that. There is a facilitator, which is Mr. Brown. There is a facilitator, which is a businessman in Northwest. We are looking at them and their accounts. What's happening in those accounts is any movement that links back into this trust fund that is owned by the Tuns. And that might benefit the minister in one way or another. So for now, what we are accusing the minister of is the minister's failure to protect the organization. The minister's negligence that allows the rogue people within the organization to do as they please. And that brings us here today. Hence, I said ministers are given the civilian secretariat to help them. So if you don't use that resource, you've got nobody else to blame but yourself. And that resource was not used. Hence, the letters are written by Chief of Staff to IDEC, and IDEC acts on it. And that just proves that the office of the ministry became dysfunctional. And it became an office that is then used by these criminal people. You tried your best to reach out to the minister for meetings, and he ignores you. Even when he acknowledges your request for a meeting, he still does not honor that meeting. And that left us with no choice to realize that his executive authority has been used to achieve this. That's why I still strongly believe that someone started that letter of the 31st. He might have amended it, the minister, including this and that, but someone started that letter. Perhaps the issues of the border police might have come in by default. That was not the intention. The intention was the PKTT. Maybe then they started adding other things so that it looks like a covering a variety of things. But the real reason for it might have been something else.
Based on your evidence before us, are you saying that General Sibia is corrupt?
I don't think I've presented evidence before you that I can say General Sibia is corrupt yet. The investigations we have on the other side will prove that there is benefits to General Sibia of illegal means that came to him, directly or indirectly. There's property acquisitions that exist. There's contribution from the underworld into those properties. And many other things that he acquired. The good thing about it is that he has not been working alone. He's been working with police officers. And the nice thing about it is that those police officers, some of those police officers that are close to him, they are the ones that are providing this information. That's why we know about the purchase of properties. We know about the location of properties. We know about the purchases of animals in the farms. We know about the many other vehicles purchased and many other lifestyle things that are there. How and when money is being collected and how the monies are moving from point A to point B. But we have not presented that yet. So we can't say General Sibia is corrupt because we have not presented in a report before yourself about it. But as we put it here in the craft, we are saying he's an enabler of the wrong things that are happening in the organization. And that we have evidence of.
General, on a lighter note, I want to confirm to you that I am looking at you. There's a popular comedian, his name is Mpo Pops. He'll explain to you why sometimes it looks like I don't look at you. And so in that way, I want to say, I thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. I am done.
Honorable Sauls, are you done, honorable member?
I am, Chair.
Thank you so much.